Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. This is KidNativeBloodyElbow.com, joined once again by the inimitable, the ineffable, the one, the only Eugene S. Robinson, author of Fight, everything you ever wanted to know about ass kicking, but we're afraid you get your ass kicked for asking. Published by, I want to say Scrivener. Nope. Who?
HarperCollins, baby.
There you go. Major label action all the way. This
You know,
guy.
all you got to do is put out a book to find out who your friends are. And some friend of mine said, "Oh, you put your book out." I go, "Yeah." They go, "Who put self-publish?" I go, "Nah, I think HarperCollins put it out." They go, "HarperCollins? Who are they? I've never heard of them." I go, "It's the biggest publisher in the world."
So they let you pay them a nominal fee, and they put your book out for you. Is that kind of the deal?
No. I'm straight up. I'll tell you, like that blues song. I'll tell you everything I know. 20 grand. That's what I got for it.
That's pretty good, man. Was that an advance or was that royalties?
That was 10 before I finish a book, 10 on delivery.
Wow, that's a pretty damn good book deal, I have to say.
And then the accounting since then. Say, well, to start seeing royalties, you'll have to cross 10,000 sold. So I got to like 9,467, and I was like, why don't you guys just go the whole fucking do the full Monty? Go, you only sold 9,999, Eugene. Oops.
Those accountants didn't go to college for nothing, Eugene.
Yeah, right.
That's the deal. They got educated. But we are here for the Care, Don't Care preview of not only UFC Fight Night Connecticut featuring Jacare versus Mousasi 2, but Bellator 123 featuring a featherweight title bout rematch between Pat Curran and Patricio Pitbull, yep. Patricio Freire. And, Eugene, the disclaimer for the Care, Don't Care for those?
Well, I like that the disclaimers change because, our perception of it changes. Like the last fight, I know you probably don't watch Knuckle Up, so I'll just fill you in.
I watch Knuckle Up. I even inflicted it on my kids in the car.
Yeah, that's what like heroin and whorehouses.
The wife turned it off pretty quick, but
Yeah, she's a smart woman, so. So no, I mean, we went into that last fight with you had a preponderance of don't cares, but I think substantively
we both did, Eugene.
You had more than I did.
Perhaps.
But that's not the point. The point is that the entire fight, the entire night of fights, despite all the naysaying, the negative nabobs, the nattering nabobs of negativity, that it was actually, qualitatively decent fights. Now, somebody made the claim in the comments that, it was a night of fights. A decent night of fights, if you weren't paying for it. If you're paying for it, you have to make the claim that it was a night of fights not worth $55. So I said, but that's not the standard of Care, Don't Care. It's not Care, Don't Care, $55 worth. It's just Care, Don't Care.
Well, we've experimented, and people have actually asked us to rate the pay-per-views on a dollar basis, and so next time there's a pay-per-view, we will attempt to do that. So I think it was about a $15 to $20 worth personally, because like this card that's free tonight or free on Friday, I think has me salivating much more than UFC 177 did in advance. I mean,
in advance, and you went on to make the claim that people pay for anticipation. But that's all.
You don't buy a live pay-per-view after the fact. You don't get weeks of word of mouth of what a great pay-per-view.
And I didn't disagree, and I would also make the claim that people.
So your argument is then that Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard, that's why that was the biggest selling fight of all time.
Yeah, well, I'm also going to make the claim that, say, in terms of heroin use, people who have been heavily addicted to a certain drug, a large portion of it is a ritual. They have scientifically reported that the functioning of the drug is actually maybe accounts for 50% of it. The rest of it is, the certain steps that you have to go through to obtain it. The whole kind of ritualistic laying out of your works and the people you choose to do it with and this kind of thing. So anticipation is part of it, but there are other parts of it. So that's a long.
That's a real great tea.
Yeah, right.
Bag the stirring.
You steep the tea. You save. So this is a long way around saying that the Care, Don't Care is a plot device we use that pretty much is not a commentary on your fight skills, your crybabies, but more commentary on how well the organization behind you has marketed you. So take it up with your manager or take it up with whoever you have, your agent. So it has nothing to do with us or you, in actual fact. has to do with how much wind is behind your sails. So
and how much self-marketing you do as well. Because the loudmouths who talk a lot of trash, love them or hate them, love to hate them.
You know what?
I
know you don't spend a lot of time maybe talking to Eddie Goldman, but Eddie Goldman, that was one of his.
I still listen to his show now and again.
Yeah, that was one of. Well, he had Tito on this past week, so it was sort of interesting. He's got the parade of malcontents. Anybody who's willing to talk shit about the UFC, he's glad to have on. But his claim was that the UFC was coarsening the discourse. You know.
Hey, that's a trademark term.
Yeah. And you know, and following GQ's lead of the biggest sleaze bag in sports. You know, he has lowered the engagement. So he thinks that trash talk is trashy. And, you know, I mean, I sort of, to a certain extent, I think in equal measure. I loved Oleg Toktarov. You wouldn't tell he was fighting. He walked in, walked out very much the same way. But at the same time, if everybody was doing that, it would change the tone and the timbre of the fight. I mean, I'm not going to a lot of high school wrestling matches, and I see a lot of guys go on the mat like that. At the same time, when I go to IBJJF and there's a guy who's like pointing to God and crossing himself and dropping to his knees and acting like he's on some kind of fucking highlight reel, I must laugh.
Hating is hating, Eugene. It takes all time.
Man, especially if it's a guy from my team. It's like, Jesus Christ, man, where do you think you are? You're in a gym and
center of the universe, Eugene.
I guess, yeah. You know, have some pride, Eugene. Yeah.
I want to throw one thing out there, though. I was reading about all these controversies in the video game world, of which I am blissfully ignorant because I haven't played video games since like Nintendo in the early '90s. But apparently, some woman's done some Kickstarter campaign to do commentary about sexism in video games. It's like, talk about a no-brainer. Sexism in video games, that's like racism in Mississippi. Is it out there? You know, it's like, but apparently she's getting all kinds of flack. And Brent Brookhouse of Bloody Elbow was telling me he was looking into doing a story comparing video gamers.
It should be said, Brent is the only guy that I would cotton to winning MMA Journalist of the Year. The only one.
You just make him more full of himself when you say things like that, Eugene. Think about me and my role as a manager. I have to manage these prima donnas. You're not the only one. Okay. You're not the only raging, out of control ego.
But I am the biggest raging, out of control egomaniac possibly in the universe.
Well, again, I think that's delusions of grandeur there, Eugene. But you know, you do your best. You are, I would say, a clinical narcissist.
You're right.
I'm not a licensed psychiatrist.
I meant the cosmos.
All right. But Brookhouse was telling me that he couldn't get anybody in the video game community to go online and talk about the kind of harassment that they get, you know, from the gamer community because they're all scared shitless of the gamers. Whereas we deal with MMA fighters, and unless they're within 10 feet of me and completely lost control of themselves, I'm not intimidated at all. But gamers can reach out beyond the screen and get you. So,
well, they've been swatting each other, but I don't know whether it was apocryphal or not. But one kid who swatted another guy who kept beating him in some game, you know, was arrested, and now is looking at 25 years in prison. It's 15 years old, man, but that's kind of bracing. Hey, you'll be out. Hey, imagine how cool the game's going to be when you get out at 40.
Exactly. Yeah, and a lot of those hackers get these deals where they don't even allow them to touch computers once they get out. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah, the government.
This kid wasn't a hacker. This kid wasn't a hacker. He just got mad at a guy who kept beating him and told the police that he had a bunch of guns and drugs in the house, and they sent the SWAT team over. The kid's sitting there eating fucking Lucky Charms. It's like, hey, you know, and I know who did this, and they arrested the kid. There was a great photograph of the kid after sentencing. Well, you know.
Wow, 25 years in jail for calling in a false police report. That's hacker sentencing. They're sentencing him like he's a hacker because they're scared.
Well, you know what?
Video games that said, ooh.
From the cop point of view, it's like, you know what? You're going to create a situation where we fucking shoot somebody. Because most people will get their doors...
You know how the cops are, free with the trigger fingers these days.
Well, also, you know, somebody gets their fucking door kicked in, most people jump up, you know? He's going for a gun!
It's funny how when you raid a house in the middle of the night in black masks and no identifying papers in the most well-armed country in the world, how sometimes things escalate.
No, but Kenny Rogers said it best, man. You got to know when to hold it, know when to fold it.
That's right.
5 masked guys with guns. I don't give a shit whether it's ISIS, the SWAT. At that point, unless I got my hand on a fucking AR-15, I'm complying. You know, I'm like, All right, Jack, you got me for whatever, you know.
But what if it's, say, La Familia Michoacan, and you know they're going to cut your joints off one digit at a time, you know, one joint with some snips, and make a big production.
You got to know, you know, when I interviewed Kevin Weeks, a guy who was Whitey Bulger's right-hand man, and who watched them walk many a person down to the death basement at their house in South.
My fingers on the Donna Shalala button, so just go right ahead, but be warned.
In the basement of the house. He said, he goes, if he were ever in that situation, what did he say at that point? Do you remember?
I do not, so go right ahead.
No, you don't remember. He said, having seen that situation at least 8 times, according to the court, he said that he didn't know what people were thinking, but were he in that same position, he would fight for all it's worth because that's all he had left. He would jump out of a window, fight for whatever it took, he was going to fight until he stopped moving. And I like that attitude, man, but if I'm at my kitchen table eating Lucky Charms and 5 masks, man, I'm doing the math. Whatever I might have to defend myself is not in that box of Lucky Charms. So you got me.
Yep. You gotta know you gotta know when to hold them, when to fold them. So we gotta move on with the show. This is the UFC Care Don't Care preview for not the UFC, but we're doing UFC Fight Night Jacare versus Mousasi and Bellator Pitbull versus Pat Curran. Which do you care about more?
I'd say the UFC.
All right.
Jacare is a known associate. He's trained here at Team Sorrel.
So is he a friend of Knuckle Up?
He's not. I didn't manage to get him on the show.
And you should be beefing against the guy for that.
Yeah, you know, there's a certain.
What do you think he is?
Well, there's a certain thing, you know, guy comes in and you give him his space, you know. And I expected to see him again, and I got the timing wrong, and he was off to HP Pavilion and didn't get a chance to do it. I did see him decimate everybody here in short order, though.
I can imagine. All right, so we will start then with Bellator, as it is the less anticipated event, which I agree, but
I could not care less.
You know, a lot of grammar Nazis will jump all over you for that.
Yeah, that was my Martin Short imitation. the guy who worked at Scrapco. if you remember that, when Scrapco started sponsoring art. You remember this?
Remember that. I do not remember that. I'll have to YouTube it. Yeah. I do enjoy some of the early sketch comedy of Martin Short, although virtually none of his movie or TV career after that. All right, so we're going to skip with the prelims. I don't see anything on, and there's like a 12-fight prelim card. Tamden McCrory, the Barn Cat, that's the only guy I see on the prelims that I care about at all. It's been a long time since I've seen him fight. But we've got 4 fights on the Bellator main card, which is apparently going to go on Spike before the Fox card starts. The UFC card starts on Fox Sports 1, so you should be able to watch.
Of course. Is anybody at all fooled by this fucking mummery? You know, this is not a separate fight organization any longer.
It's not. No. Are we getting a conspiracy going again?
Nah, it's not even that. What? Come on, it's Scott Coker.
Ah, I see. So they're working together. Although the UFC was insistent that they would be airing right up against Bellator, and it was a Fox press release that announced the time change. So
you know how Vladimir Putin kind of explained Russian troops in the Ukraine?
How's that?
He said they got lost.
I see. And now you're buying the Western media conspiracy against poor Vladimir, who's merely
No. I mean, it's binary. He either said this or he did it. If he said it, it is to laugh. It's much like Mel Gibson's father when he was denying the Holocaust. He said, "Well, what happened to those 6 million Jews? You know, the Nazis and the Jews?" And he goes, "They wandered off."
That's what I love about Holocaust deniers. They're simultaneously so devoted to the awesome power of the Nazi killing machine, and yet, nope, no Jews were killed in the creation of this Holocaust. So,
but you know, the Nazis themselves were terribly, kind of amusingly, almost inconsistent about that, about how stupid and foolish the Jew was, yet crafty and devious.
Indeed.
Oh, I'm stupid and foolish, crafty and devious. I gotcha.
Indeed, yes. Goebbels didn't trouble himself with consistency or logical
Hey, it's a hobgoblin of little minds, my friend.
Indeed. All right, so let's get to the fights. First up, heavyweight, Josh Burns, and making his Bellator debut, Strikeforce veteran, TNA wrestler, Bobby Lashley.
I care. I care because of Lashley, you know.
Of course.
Yeah, who's shown? I mean, who's an interesting specimen, of course. I guess he's had enough time.
As a steroid aficionado, you should truly be interested.
That's. I was just about to step into that, and like a new pair of pants or an old pair of pants. But I'm guessing now he's had enough time to clean up. Maybe, Sort of.
If he had enough time to clean up, I don't think his frame would. I think he'd be fighting at middleweight.
Yeah. Those guys. That's the sport that needs help. Well, I guess we could take the quotes out of sport, the help and all that other stuff. But one of the claims they made is because we don't have a season. We're on this shit year round, and people were making these claims when Chris Benoit had his terrible meltdown. So, but Lashley, he's got wrestling bona fides, and he's a tough guy. And what I'm actually enjoying is that I think, I haven't been a wrestling fan since like the 80s, a pro wrestling fan, but I like that some of these guys, that the UFC has crawled into their heads, It's crawled into their heads to the extent that they're willing to actually, Brock could have made way more money fighting fake wrestling than he did with the UFC, but he had to know. It's like that great line from Dirty Harry. I got to know. These guys got, and so fake wrestling may be fake, but there's some guys in it who start to believe their own press, and they got to know. And so I'm interested in Lashley. I'm interested in having Lashley after he gets to know.
It seems to me like he knows. Chad Griggs pretty well showed him, and to me Lashley is a geekta.
He's just there for the ride. At this point now, like Kung Lee, this is marketing for his other job.
Well, but the problem is TNA might be getting canceled, so what other job? But anyway,
he could go to WWE quite easily now. That's
maybe not. I think he kind of shed the bed with them, from my limited understanding. But anyway, so that's a care, but it's just a provisional care to me because I have a bad feeling it's going to be a 3-round hug and mug, and rather tedious to watch. But that.
What does Tommy Toehold say? As Nick Diaz. Hey, homie, you gonna try to solve your problems by laying on them for 25 minutes? Greatest line ever, man.
That is a good one. I love Tommy Toehold. All right, and that brings us to light heavyweights. Muhammad King Mo Lawal against Dustin Jacoby. It was supposed to be Tom DeBlass, but then it was supposed to be Marcus Sursa, but now it's Dustin Jacoby. So
I really care about this, like way, way more than any human should really care about it, because King Mo has got to show up.
He's on the event horizon of being sucked into a complete black hole of infinite despair if he fucks this one up.
He's made so much noise and gotten so much attention. Okay, now, Bjorn Rebney is a nut jumper. He's a dick rider. He's this guy, this sport. And, okay, we're all paying attention now. Man, that's a drag.
We've been paying attention. I mean, right from his debut in Sengoku way back in the day, but so far he's gone, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 in Bellator. And hasn't even made his TNA debut, and that was after the Spike launched him with the 1-hour documentary about his greatness and sports and sport entertainment ambitions. And so it's I didn't think the Rampage fight was that bad, but I didn't think it was that good. You're yawning like I was during the Rampage King Mo fight.
Sorry. Eugene's got a rough life sometimes. I'm not sleeping so well. But
the Fuhrer launched his invasion of Poland at your age just because he knew his peak years were rapidly ending.
Yeah, I'd like to get on his dietary narcotic regime.
He had I believe the same doctor as Hank Williams and Elvis later had. The guy later immigrated to the U.S.
Who Motley Crue named the song after.
Dr. Feelgood. The Beatles did one too with the less catchy name, Dr. Robert. All right, so we care about King Mo versus Dustin Jacoby, but this is it. This is the last time I care about a King Mo. I can't say that because I can't turn myself away from the car wreck that is his MMA career. All right, heavyweights, Czech Congo and LeVar Johnson. Guaranteed lay and pray. Yes.
Oh, no, well, no, I'm not guaranteed. Not at all.
You think LeVar has a chance to knock him out before Czech can mug him up against the cage?
Well, you said lay and pray. Lay implies horizontal.
It could be a wall install. It could be some vertical
wall. I was at an orgy once.
Just once, huh?
Well, there's one time that I was at an orgy, and they're in the hot tub, you know.
I was wondering what an orgy smells like, but I don't think I want to know.
No, this was in the hot tub, so it smelled kind of pepperminty, you know.
See, hot tubs and orgies, man.
So I'm like making out with this woman, and then this other guy is grabbing her from the other side, and he's like, this is like something another guy should never have to hear, you know, and that is specifically dudes trying to talk sexy. And he says to the woman, he goes, hey, we should all go inside and go somewhere and get vertical. And I didn't want to be an English prick, but I couldn't stop myself. I go, you know, hey, man, technically right now we are vertical. I think you mean horizontal.
That killed him, married you, Gene?
No. We went inside and, you know, and got vertical. Dummy. And because it's a family show, I won't finish the story for you, but it was amusing.
I see. I'm glad to know. I've never been in an orgy, but I once, right after high school, was trapped in bed with a girl who I had an enormous crush on. I was with a friend. We weren't sexing. We were just making out like high school kids do. And she was in bed with the biggest idiot ever, and I had to listen to like an hour and a half of, I can't believe this magical night is happening. It was like,
oh, man, see? The things that you shouldn't have to hear, man.
I know, man. And this was a scary redneck who I'd been terrified of for years. He was like a thief and a fighter and a bully. She was only there with him because she was on an epic scheme to revenge herself against every girl who had screwed around with her boyfriend while she was dating the guy. So she was knocking them off one at a time. I think the guy couldn't get it up, which is why the romantic talk just kept going on and on. It was a horrific nightmare. It was like when I discovered that rednecks like to listen to things like Berlin in their cars. And Broadway soundtracks. It's just like
well, you know, that is horrible. You gotta that's why it's a dangerous thing that you can only embark on after much thought, you know. I remember some other event and the third guy there was like, he's like Kilroy. All I see up over the edge of the bed are like his face and his hands. I'm like, what are you fucking doing? And he's like whispering sexy talk from this vantage point of like, hey, yeah, baby, you do. And I was like, man, this was a mistake. Yeah, no. And finally I said, it creeped me out enough. I go, hey, man, why don't you get off the floor, you know? Fuck off the floor. And so he's like, oh, so he gets into the game, and then I notice it's like bad jujitsu. Like everywhere I put my hand is where his hand, like everywhere I want to put my hand, he puts his hand there. It's like, hey man, I want to put my hand there, and I don't want to touch your hand, you know? All right, okay, sorry.
That seems like one of the biggest headaches of multiple guy, strictly hetero thing is like the whole. Look,
well, see, that's
difficult to negotiate.
That's why double teaming is much better than triple teaming.
I'll take your word for it, but yes, the math on that is pretty compelling. It shouldn't be that complicated. All right, so
and my God, let's not even start talking about gangbangs, but that that's terrible. No, you've been in on one of those. That woman goes to the bathroom, man. You're just a bunch of naked dudes. It's like bad jujitsu. Just a bunch of naked dudes standing around looking at each other.
Having a sausage party.
Man, this is terrible. We've gone really far.
We have. Back to the topic at hand. Chet Congo, LeVar Johnson. We care, although we're warned it could be a tedious.
No, it's going to be a slugfest. I don't say Wallenstall.
You think so? You think LeVar can force the fight he wants?
Yeah. I don't think Chet is going to be afraid of him with the stand-up. I think they're going to punch it out. So.
Chet's afraid of everybody with the stand-up. He got addicted to his grappling, and he loves to...
Really?
Yes, he wrestle mugs everybody, even grapplers. His last fight, he was fighting a Russian grappler, and he decided to wall and
stuff. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay, well, hey, you got to give dude credit for being there as long as he has. How about that?
Always looking on the bright side, Mr. Martinez Robinson. Yeah. All right. And that brings to the title fight featherweight champion Pat Curran, who recently lost, then won back his title against Reefer Maniac Daniel Strauss, fighting in a rematch against Patricio Pitbull Freire. Care?
I care.
And your thoughts, your prediction?
I don't know, man. I don't know if I feel like trusting Pat Curran. It just seems inadvisable. It seems inadvisable.
Pitbull is then...
Yeah, that seems inadvisable, too.
Yeah.
So I think you have to think about this fight in a different way. Who is more aggressively dedicated to losing?
Pitbull.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Which means, as a consequence, means that Curran's going to win.
Yep. I have to agree there, and I think Curran is going to be wanting to send a message. I think he kind of got scared straight when he had that loss to Daniel Strauss, and there was a fair amount of hype. But now let's turn to the real card, the UFC Fight Night, Jacare versus Mousasi. We were going to run through the prelims because it's one of these shows where the prelims are on Fox Sports 1. After 4 fights, it becomes the main event, also on Fox Sports 1. So it is also deeply confusing. All right, so first up on the prelim card, featherweight Sean Soriano versus Chaz Kelley.
I don't care.
No, I don't either. Sorry, guys. Bantamweights Chris Bale versus Tateki Matsuda.
No, I don't care.
I give it a provisional care just because I'm a Japanophile. I'm always hoping that the next Sakuraba is under a rock somewhere, putting on the UFC gloves and revealing himself, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, middleweights Rafael Natal versus Chris Camozzi.
I care.
Me too. I care because of Natal. It seems like Camozzi might have burned me by having an exciting fight because for some reason his name is synonymous with tedious fights I don't want to watch.
Yep.
But, he's got a 3-fight losing streak going.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Camozzi. And also, he reminds me of that band who did that song, Hot Stepper.
You said that before, and I had to Google that. Explain.
Aina Camozzi, I think the artist's name was.
Yes.
Here comes a hot stepper, murderer.
Yes, well, that's all we got. So, does that qualify for you? Care because of
Natal? We care because of Natal.
Yeah, Sapo. And
Rafael.
What's he been up to? He's got two loss streak going. So these guys, despite kind of caring, are a little bit damaged goods. And that brings us to the final fight, headlining the prelim card, lightweights Ally Aquinta and Rodrigo Dam.
Yeah, I care.
Yeah, me too, because, Dam's been around forever, even though he's never really excelled. And Aquinta reeled off a 3-fight UFC winning streak until he lost to Mitch Clark when he got choked out by the Darce choke.
Yep.
And
I don't know why Rodrigo's nickname is not God. It just seems so easy, man.
Well, he's probably one of these Jesus-y guys.
Yeah, okay. I guess that's not. If you're a Jesus-y guy, you don't like that.
I mean, you've been to Rio, right, with the giant.
Me? No, I've never been.
You've never been to Rio and taken I made the trolley car up to the giant statue of Jesus on the.
I made the mistake of telling my wife at the time that about this professional fighter friend of mine who had gone there and had sex with 48 women in 45 days.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a wife will veto that.
Yeah. Then I said and then almost in the same general day, I think I said, "Oh, I might get to go to Rio to cover a fight." She goes, "Great. We should get our tickets."
Yeah, I once took my wife to Rio and ended up traveling with my niece as well, so it was not.
So you took sand to the beach.
With my niece there wasn't going to be any.
Yeah, right. Anyway.
It was like a family-friendly. I was just terrified of being mugged on the Copacabana actually, because I saw some guy get just dusted over like a fanny pack.
Really?
Yeah.
How many people?
Like 4 guys just came up and gypsy styled, all tussled around him and just took off his fanny pack. And there was a hey, and off they went with his fanny pack.
You gotta be careful. A judo guy I know in Barcelona was walking down Las Ramblas, and some guys started following him. He's with 2 women, and he goes, "Of course, it's only gonna be because I'm with 2 women." And the guy came up to him and put his arm around his shoulder.
That's why I made my wife and my niece keep their distance from me, because I didn't want to. Anyway, just a joke.
No. And he put his arms around the guy, and my friend said, "Take your arm off of me," And the guy was like, "Oh, come on!" And he fucking did a hip throw. That guy hit the concrete and was unconscious, and he looked at the guy's friends, and they couldn't really figure out what had happened. It happened so fast. He was, "Come on, girls, let's go!" And the girls were like, "Why'd you do to that nice Spanish man?" He was like, "Nah, fuck that." Yeah.
Well played.
Yeah, exactly.
That's because I've been to the Ramblas and it's fun, but it is a little spooky. Although the people I was scared of were all gypsies or Russians.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Like I noticed the Russians were sort of coaching all the 3-card monte dealers and stuff.
Yeah.
Which
I had some guy was in Montpellier, France, man. Some guy was about to make a move, but it was so, and I wear a suit when I travel just because I don't want for the respect. But it gotten so hot that I just opened the suit, like I unbuttoned it and unbuttoned the shirt. Fuck it, I'm shirtless. The guy's walking around in shorts. And so this guy is like walking up to make the approach, and it breeze blows his shirt open, and you can see the whole chest tattoo and stuff. And the guy, it was just enough of a window for the guy to go, wait a minute. The guy in the suit with a full body, but you know what? Don't walk it, Jack.
That's a nice little showed your rattles there, did you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that was great. That was like in the store buying food next to a gypsy woman who's got a tray of food for her and her sister that was like piled high. And she looks at me, looks at my food, looks at her food, and then sticks her hand out. And I just start laughing. I go, you just got $100 worth of food there. You're asking me for money? And she just kind of goes,
Gypsies are something else, man. I'm sympathetic to the Roma people. I had a Roma professor at UT when I was in college. Raised my awareness to the various plights and everything. But every interaction I've ever had with gypsies said, don't have any more interactions with gypsies.
Well, I don't use, when I was a kid, I grew up saying gypped. He gypped me out of it. So I no longer use that. I did use, it was a great moment.
You say Welsh? Do you say Welsh on bet?
No, I don't say Welsh. And it was a great moment of your total discomfort. Where was it last week when I used the word Juked?
Juked.
I said, yeah, he juked me out of it. And you paused. You're like, I was like, juked.
Exactly. Although in some instances, juking, if you throw it in with a jiving, and then maybe go to a jigga and
I was gonna go. My other favorite word to use like that.
Well, you could get away with it.
Is the use of the adverb niggardly, which is
a guy speaking before the Washington D.C. City Council got in enormous trouble over that.
I know he should have whipped out the dictionary right there. And go look.
I don't think it would have helped, although I believe Julian Bond was the head of the NAACP at the time and put out a press release saying that, using the term niggardly and saying, man, we're not having this stupidity. This is because it's a Scandinavian word. It has nothing to do with the color black. It's nothing to do with the word Negro. Nothing. Means cheap, I believe.
Yep.
So, anyway. So, we're about to get to the main event, which we are obviously in deep anticipation of because we're so far afield with racist conspiracies. Oh, yes. The corporate sponsors are lining up for this show.
Hey, how did you like my take on the Barao thing? You said you thought it was crazy, huh? I didn't even go down that road very far. It just seemed really strange. Who called the hospital?
I didn't. It didn't pass the quo bono, right? Who benefits?
Qui bono. That's the thing. I couldn't figure out. I couldn't make that last mile of figuring out.
You gotta have the who benefits to get me going with the conspiracy there.
Yeah, that's right. I've still been trying to figure it out. Who called the hospital? Because I know it wasn't his team that called the hospital.
You think? Well, remember when Ken Shamrock got himself busted up and went to the emergency room and everybody else said, "Dumbass, why didn't you just glue your cut shut?"
Yeah.
But
that's Ken Shamrock,
I know, but maybe Hanan's got some bad mojo of his own going.
Yeah.
I mean,
anyway. So.
We'll see. Anyway, no, I didn't buy your conspiracy. In fact, as soon as you said conspiracy, I immediately filed it under conspiracy.
What did you just say? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even. And then when you didn't have anybody benefiting from it, I was totally out.
Yeah, I just want to put it out there. I was like Socrates.
Something smells fishy. Definitely, there was plenty of stink around that whole event. But anyway, all right, flyweights, John Moraga and Justin Scoggins. Who was it I mistook for Moraga for a whole show? Or John Lineker. It was Lineker.
John Lineker,
and Lineker mixed up one time. But this time, I've got my flyweight John straight.
I got my mojo working. Yeah, I care about this.
Me too. And so, do you have a pick between the hot, young, up-and-coming Scoggins and Moraga, who just lost by TKO to Dodson?
Yeah.
Scoggins just had an upset loss, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. This is tough. I'm feeling Moraga.
Moraga, because of the punching power?
Yeah, and I think he's got more to prove here.
Maybe so. Scoggins is still young, but man, he was talking a ton of shit. Like there was just a big hype train for a flyweight around him, and who was it was that redheaded kid, Dustin Ortiz. I was happy to see that because I think Ortiz had kind of gotten sold short. I don't know, man. Moraga, I think, has some bad mojo of his own.
Maybe.
I might pick Scoggins just to make it interesting.
All right, good. There you go.
Have something to beef. All right.
Got action.
Action. Now we've got here's a guaranteed care. Featherweights. Nick the Fence Lentz. His nickname is the Carney, but I call him the Fence. Versus Charles Dubronx Oliveira.
Yep, I care.
This is a big care. To me, it's like, how the fuck is this on Fox Sports when they had a whole pay-per-view with no fights as interesting as this last week? Like,
you know what? Yours is not to question why.
But it is, Eugene. That's my job. That's my entire job.
It actually is. I don't know. I don't know. Somewhere Sean Shelby is sitting there going.
It might have been that nobody was going to be getting any big pay-per-view bonuses off UFC 177, so people were like, hey, I want to be on TV and be seen.
Right. Also, he's probably got the twister spinner. Right hand red, left hand blue. Sorry, Sean.
Yeah. He's not watching this deep into the show, though.
That's why I noticed, I think that, too, because I got people who watch the show who are not fighters who are watching it to see if I say, give some insight into my... So if I'm going to say something scandalous, I usually save it for the second half because I know I lost everybody before that.
Yeah, that's, the deeper we go into the show, the more off-color and crazy and conspiracy-prone we tend to get. But this, to me, is a fairly big fight. Oliveira's got making some waves in featherweight. Nick Lentz had his long loss to Chad Mendes, but otherwise has been pretty impressive at featherweight.
I'm liking Nick.
You like Nick here, huh?
I think for this one.
He's bigger, stronger. I don't know.
Much like Gigantor.
Gigantor, indeed. In this division, he is kind of Gigantor. I don't know. I kind of like Dubronx here because of the
more action,
explosiveness.
All right.
Didn't they? Who was it that? This is a rematch. Remember how Dubronx, when he was young and hot, came out and destroyed Nick Lentz, and then it was ruled a no contest because of an illegal knee?
I don't remember that, but
they're very different fighters at this point in time. But there's a shot that Oliveira, if he can bottle his old crazed violence approach, might have a good shot. All right, and that brings us to lightweights. Joe Lozon versus Michael Kisa.
Actually, did you hear about this guy? He's like top bantamweight in Australia who got assaulted on the subway. Somebody heard him speaking Portuguese to somebody he was with, and this racist was like, go back to fucking your country, and the whole news story was about how this guy, the toughest bantamweight in Australia, actually held his fire. I was like, this is the difference between Australia and America. This is not a news story.
So he didn't do anything. People talk some shit, and he said, say whatever you want.
Yeah, he's like, say whatever you want, just don't put your hands on me, and then we're all right. So, which is generally, my theory. You call me any name you want until you put your hands on me. I'm not, crap, So I say that, but
and then the words come out, and then we see.
No. Typically, I mean, like I had this fight I had where the guy kept standing in front of me, and I said, I'm gonna walk around you and walk away. He stepped in front of me, and I said, you're going to have to move. And the guy goes, fuck you. I just started laughing, man. How can you not see this coming?
What was his take on it? Why was he, from his perspective, as best you can reconstruct it, why was he fucking with you?
Well, it was interesting. I'll tell you exactly what happened. I said, I'm going to give you to the count of 3 to get out of my way. And then there's some debate.
Now, who was this? Was this a random person on the street? No, was this one of your shows?
No, this was a party, and this was a biker who crashed a party, and the cops were there breaking up the party, and I'm trying to leave. All right? And the guy, for whatever reason, is now decided to compound.
Was this a biker wearing his colors? Was he flying the flag?
No, he had a vest on, but I couldn't see his rocker at that point, so I didn't know who he rode with. And so I go, but I was dressed nicely.
Was he alone or with a bunch of his buddies?
He was alone.
Okay.
Well, he was with one guy. Some guy who came and brought him. So I go to the right, and then I go to the left. And he's still standing in front of me, and I go, okay, you got to the count of 3. Get the fuck out of the way. And there's some debate about.
Were you giving up any size? Was he giving up size? What was the?
He was about an inch shorter than me. He was maybe 5'11", maybe 6 feet. Weighed more, but it was gut weight. I mean, I was maybe 197 then. And so he was probably about 210.
This was skinny Eugene.
Yeah, skinny.
So this was a while back.
Yeah, this is a while back, yeah. And this is the 80s. And so finally I say, there's a question about when you say to the count of 3, do you go 1, 2, 3, punch, or do you go 1, 2, punch?
1, 2, punch.
Yeah, I punch on 3. That's what I say, 3. I punch on 3. So I go 1, 2, boom, 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 knock the guy down. He's unconscious. Right then, the cop, whoop, just appears.
Oh,
and looks at me and goes, what happened? And I go, he fell.
That's that safety education coming out.
That's it, man. So and for the first time in my life, the cops looked at us, wrestled this guy into handcuffs, took him away. Right?
Wow. You must have been dressed nicely, Eugene.
I was dressed nicely, and then when I hit the guy, his beer went all over him, so he was bleeding, but he was soaked in beer. It smelled like beer. They took him away. So then I'm in a Round Table Pizza parking lot, and I see the guy. It was like 2 months later. I see him, and I'm like, oh, fuck, there's that guy. So I'm going evasive maneuvers, and he's matching my maneuvers through the parking lot as I'm trying to get to my car, And then finally I just stop because I know and he comes up to me, and I'm like, yeah? He goes, hey, man. I go, yeah? He goes, I was out of line that night. I go, okay. Just wanted to say I'm sorry. I own this vitamin warehouse, so you want to come by? I know you lift weights. You want to get some supplements anytime.
Come to the dark, lonely warehouse.
Yeah, you come by. Well, then I'm not going to take any vitamins from this guy. Then his whole family made the newspaper.
Oh, yeah? His crime family?
Every sex crime. Everybody in that family got busted for sex crimes, starting with the father, this guy, and his 2 brothers. So 4 of them got, off to the pokey.
Yeah, yikes. That's well done, Eugene. That's a happy.
Don't take the moral of the story is don't take vitamins from sex criminals.
Or just don't take vitamins. Why fuck with them? Yeah. All right, so back to the subject at hand. Joe Lozon, Michael Kisa.
I love Joe Lozon. I like Michael Kisa. I care.
Absolutely, Uncle Creepy and fighting in New England. I mean, what's not to like? That's not Uncle Creepy. It's what is Joe Lozon?
Uncle Creepy is McCall.
Yeah, Ian McCall, who's the Andy Dick of MMA. Joe Lozon gets something creepy, Joe.
Hold on, I gotta plug the computer in. Hold on 1 second.
All right.
Lozon? No, he. Hold on.
He's got an official nickname that's something stupid, but then.
Hold on a minute. The earplug fell out.
All right.
Lozon, isn't he has made one of the wealthiest guys from MMA ever?
How's that?
I think I saw some report where somebody added it up based
on his bonuses.
Yeah.
But he's never gotten pay-per-view points.
Whatever, Jack.
Yeah, I mean this is just the.
I'm hanging out with if I'm back east, I'm hanging out with Joe Lozon.
Joe Lozon, his nickname is J-Lo, but I swear.
Money making Lozon. Follow that guy.
Creepy Joe. They call him Creepy Joe. Yep. I knew it was something creepy. Okay. Anyway, so we care about this one. I got to go with Joe.
I'm going with Joe too.
Yeah. All right, and that brings us to heavyweights: Matt Mitrione versus Derrick Lewis.
Last time I picked Matt Mitrione.
But you care. We're already assuming we care. See, look how much better this card is than 177 was. Anyway.
Yep.
Even you can't argue with that, Mr. Sunshine.
I'm gonna throw in again with Mitrione.
Yeah, I got to go with Mitrione here too.
I'm a fool.
You're a believer. It's because of the NFL brand name. I mean, this is the guy who made the cut in the NFL. He can't wrestle.
Yeah.
But so I don't know.
He's a great athlete though. I doing stuff as a big man.
He is an excellent. Huh. The only question mark is if Lewis can out-wrestle him. But we'll see. But I'm going to go with Mitrione just cause.
Well, I'm going to go with Mitrione with a proviso that if he screws me on this one, he's become a gict.
He's a gict. It could be. I mean, Lewis is on his way up, but I just don't think he's got the big fight experience to go against Matt Mitrione here. I mean, Mitrione fought Kimbo Slice. You want to talk big time spotlight? There you go.
Slice, man. That's a success story.
Isn't it? That's the power of viral marketing right there. All right, and I mean, what's the deal, Eugene? You're on YouTube. You've worked in porn, and he didn't even work in porn, but just in the porn industry. Why wasn't that you?
God, he had a great look, man. He had a great look.
You could grow a beard.
No, I can't actually. I don't have enough facial hair to grow beards, man.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'd have to take more steroids, and then maybe
I thought that made your facial hair go away.
No,
you got breasts and everything. No,
that makes the hair on the head go away. But you end up with a nice full beard. But he's a friend of Knuckle Up. I interviewed him on the show, Kimbo Slice, and I interviewed his cousin, Dr. Roddy Ferguson.
Dr. Roddy Ferguson, indeed, the judoka. Was he an Olympic judoka, I believe?
Yeah, he's intense, man. Got his PhD, slept in his car. It was like, judo practice starts at 5. I got classes. Screw it, man. Super intense, driven. Has had a mixed MMA career, but it's just a phenomenal kind of guy. You look under Will in the dictionary there. You see this guy.
Indeed, although his association with Lloyd Irvin has always given me a pause.
Lloyd Irvin. You know what I'd like to see Lloyd Irvin do? He corners a guy. I'd like to see, the corner cam catch all the sexy talk he does between rounds.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, man. You're looking really good out there, man. You win this, I'll tell you, we'll go back to the room. Yeah, yeah. And I started to have this fantasy that this is how Lloyd Irvin is talking to his guys between rounds, and then the fantasy got out of control, and it just got creepier and creepier, and everybody in the room finally asked me, hey, man, could you stop your Lloyd Irvin impression? You're kind of uncomfortable.
Lloyd Irvin is so creepy, you can't even do an impression of the guy without.
Hey, I never raped her because I couldn't get it up.
Hey, man, if you want to say that in court, like any defense lawyer will tell you, that's gold right there.
That was good.
Every jury's going to say, wow, if this dude's willing to say that, he must be telling the truth.
I had a girlfriend once. She said, you on tour? Yeah, I was on tour. Did you have sex with women on tour? I said, I had sex with one woman on tour. She's like, and she's like screaming. She waits for an explanation, and finally I just said, I didn't want to do it. And she goes, what? I said, I didn't want to do it. She pretty much forced me to do it. She goes, oh, she held you at gunpoint? I said, no, I didn't want to do it. She lived far out in the woods, and she said, you're going to kick me out. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Was I going to walk through the trees to get back? I really hate it. And she goes, I go, why would I tell you the truth and then lie to you? If I was gonna lie, I just would have lied from the beginning. I'm expecting a little fucking sympathy here.
Dr. Goebbels will be proud, Eugene. That's a great moment in spin.
But it was the truth. I mean, spin is when it's bullshit. This was the fucking truth. I didn't want to do this.
Spin is when the emphasis has changed. If you do,
I want sympathy. I was outraged that I didn't get sympathy for this.
I was date raped. I was the victim here. That's good stuff, Eugene. Poland invaded. We had to defend ourselves. They blew up bridges.
Okay, all right. I'm getting no sympathy.
No sympathy.
I'm going to have to start a support group.
Yeah.
Men who are forced to have sex with groupies.
Yes, this is.
My name is Eugene. Hi, Eugene.
Lead singers everywhere will line up.
Yeah, that's right. This. That's right. Me and Anthony. I didn't want her.
Anyway, all right. Back to the care, don't care. Alistair Overeem versus Big Ben Rothwell.
Hey, Big Ben, friend of Knuckle Up. Love the guy. Love the guy. I don't think he is designed or it is intended for him to get past Overeem on this fight.
No, no.
But because he is a friend of Knuckle Up, I'm going to pick him.
You are cray-cray. Oh, Eugene.
Hey, I stood next to the dude. That's all. That's all that needs to be said.
And if you trained with Overeem, you'd probably be picking Rothwell as well.
Well, you know what?
Did you hear what Rumble Johnson said about Overeem yesterday? He called him the biggest pussy, et cetera, et cetera. And these are old training partners.
It was the other way around. Rumble said some unkind things about him, and then Overeem goes, "What are you talking about? Rumble's is the biggest pussy I've ever seen." You know.
I gotta check this. And now I gotta admit, it's one thing to admit I don't watch, pay attention to all the fights, but now I gotta admit I don't even read Bloody Elbow thoroughly enough to get.
Or that you don't know that Ben Henderson's nickname is Smooth. Nah,
Because it's not. That's like GSP's nickname being Rush. Like, nobody calls him Rush. Nobody calls Ben Henderson Smooth.
Yeah. Well, Rumble, I was at Kung Lee's when Rumble was there, and I don't have an overall favorable impression of the guy, which is shorthand for he was never nice to me. So
that's a fair criteria, I got to say. Let's see. No, Anthony Johnson, Alistair Overshit ducked Junior Dos Santos. So
yeah, and then Overeem called him a pussy.
Ah, I see. Well, we'll have to see. But I might have to get another post out of the back and forth there. That's traffic. Shit talk equals traffic. Anybody?
Yeah, well, it's a good fight too.
Yeah. Rumble versus Overeem would be a heck of a fight. But Overeem, I think he's going to feed on Rothwell, knees to the body. Just, and if Overeem...
Rothwell, when I interviewed him, I was surprised, given that he's a Midwest guy, I was surprised that he didn't actually come up wrestling.
Yep, he's never had the great wrestling skills, and I think he's going to get in the tie clinch and just eat knees, and it won't be pretty. And Overeem, believe it or not, is looking to put together a 2-fight win streak in the UFC, so he's going to be motivated. All right, and that brings us to the headliner. We both care about this. I think this is a historically important fight because their first fight was years ago. Ronaldo Jacare Souza versus Gegard Mousasi. Who are you picking?
I love Gegard, man.
You want Gegard to win?
No, I love him, but he's always reminded me of those guys who came over from Pride and then seemed to not adjust to the new. I had a 10-minute round. Now I got a 6-minute round, and then they're like, hey, what happened to the rest of my round? I mean, I like his aplomb, sang-froid. I like it all, but I don't think he's as, I don't know, man. Jacare is fucking tough.
Jacare is looking incredibly, he is just on a roll. Like the Jacare that Mousasi beat with an up kick low these many years ago was basically a grappler who was learning to fight MMA, and the current Jacare is a dude who figured out, you know what, I am incredibly athletic, and I can learn to strike like a motherfucker, and I'm going to bust you up.
Yeah.
So.
I'm gonna have to. He's a known associate, not a friend, neither a friend of Knuckle Ups, but I'm gonna have to go with Jacare.
Yeah, I got to go with Jacare too. I'd like to see Mousasi make an impact in the UFC. Longtime fan. I just don't think this just isn't a good matchup for him at this point in time. So, and it's weird. He's coming off to a loss to Machida. Jacare's on a win streak, an enormous 6-fight win streak. So it's not a gimme, but they're clearly planning on Jacare to win this.
Jacare is really strong too, man. Really. I mean, he took guys on this fight team here, guys who give me, a hard time from the strength position, and we're just like me rolling with my daughters,
Man, and he's a 185 pounder. How big is he when he's not fighting though? I mean, did he feel like he was a 200-pounder? Look like he was as
200-pound plus, man.
Easy.
It felt like 205, 208.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all because he takes a big weight cut, but I think the more interesting fight to me is Jacare versus Chris Weidman when he does eventually get a title shot.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying that. I'm starting to enjoy that. You know why I'm starting to enjoy Chris Weidman more and more. All of the animated takes on Chris Weidman. Are really making me appreciate Chris Weidman a lot more. If I had known he was just going to be this entertaining, I would have been a supporter early on. I mean, nothing he's done in the cage so far has entertained me nearly as much as his stuff with Renato Laranja or the animated stuff on him. It's just been fantastic.
I enjoyed Prebeck. Came to Bloody Elbow recently. Now he's exclusive with SB Nation. So yes, I enjoyed that too. And
what he said. He goes. So you're getting your fight strategy from Matt Serra. He goes, I don't get anything from Matt Serra except where to get a good pizza. I
think that's Brooklyn humor. That didn't make any impression.
Long Island.
Long Island. You're not even accepting it. You immediately got sectional there, sectarian. Yeah. Brooklyn is Long Island.
Come on, man.
Brooklyn is Long Island.
Come on, wake up.
Brooklyn is on Long Island.
You won't find a single guy in Brooklyn who agrees with you, man. and you won't find a single guy on Long Island who agrees with you. That's all the people in Long Island moved there to specifically get away from Brooklyn. They don't.
That's true. It's true. My wife's grandparents would concur. Yeah, it's true. All right, so we care.
Were they Italian or were they...
They're not Italian. They're Greek and Spanish.
Yeah.
So they read very New Yorker. They talk. You'd think they were an old Jewish couple to hear them bickering with each other, but they love deli food. They're very New York, but it's their lesser known ethnicities, the Greek and the Spanish. But they're both first-generation immigrants. So.
See, the problem is that they all moved out to they all moved out to the island, and then lo and behold discovered that they have no freaking sense of community there. But I guess they all had to get out of the Lower East Side,
Yeah, they got a public library and a Starbucks. That's something.
This is actually what's happened all over America, where Middle Italy's have all disappeared. Because the people get prosperous and they move to Jersey, and they move out to the Ireland, and wow, I got no sense of community here,
no sense of culture. You lose your historic, whatever ethnic history and traditions you had. It gets the whitewash treatment. Of course, my ethnicity leads the way. Have you ever looked at those maps that show, which is the dominant ethnic background of any county? And there's a huge swath through the Appalachians that says American. Yeah. Well, you're not Americans, dumbasses. Yeah. You're Scots-Irish who are so benighted and ignorant you don't even know where you fucking came from. That's my people right there.
Yeah.
And I mean,
there was that Martin Malcolm, History of White People in America, and the kids are in the classroom talking about where they're from. And gets to the white kid and he's like, "Well, my family we come from Maple Street, and then before Maple Street we were on Jackson Street, and now we're right off of Main Street."
It's true. It's true, and it's it spreads everywhere. I think part of it is the whole ethnic cleansing, continental conquest thing. Like if you feel like you're native, you are native, but also the Scots-Irish just never had any ethnic. I mean, Anyway, I could rant about the Scots-Irish forever, but I believe we'll call it a show. It's been an hour. It's been a fun one. We talked orgies, touched on Nazis. Talked about a few fights, so we had it all. And Dallas and the gang will be back.
Dallas! Tell you about that guy.
Exactly. Dallas
he's
paid
me, so I have no beef with Dallas.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. And don't forget who paid him.
Right. To pay. He did ask me something. What he asked me that he doesn't realize I don't check that email very much, but he said, have you ever seen Valhalla Rising? I have. It's a great movie.
No.
But I need to email him this.
Yes, you do. And you need to tell him which email to email you at as well. Also, we need to tease the next episode of Intrigue. We're going to talk about Casanova. The delay has been, I'm looking for a particular vicious bit of intrigue that Casanova had pulled on him in Switzerland. And then we're going to watch the Fellini movie with Donald Sutherland as Casanova. Anyway, and I might even try to get Dallas Winston to join us for that.
Dallas!
You can't do the meme twice in one show.
I can do whatever the hell I
got it. Donna Shalala. Order in the corner. All right, everybody. Dallas and Connor and Zane will be back with an MMA vivisection for the UFC event, and then they'll have another one for the Invicta event. That'll be Zane and Victor.
I actually put money in that guy's pocket.
Did you? Yes, through Ozzy.
Yeah.
And they actually, the checks finally came?
Yeah, about 8 months later.
Oh, that's something. It keeps people hungry.
Yeah. That's how Vice got the $2.2 billion. They still owe me money for the Vice Guide to Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll.
Man, and how that's been.
Yeah, I don't know how much they owe me, but I'm getting that money.
Are you? Well, good luck.
Donald Drake. Quack, quack. When will I get my money back?
Well said. All right. So remember to give us a like on YouTube, subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube, follow at Eugene S. Robinson on Twitter, at KidNate on Twitter, read us at BloodyElbow.com. You can also read Eugene at Aussie.com and at Vice's Fightland. Any other plugs?
Yes, sir. I'm going to interview Emmanuel Newton for Vice next. So.
Ah, the man who ruined King Mo's dreams. Indeed.
All right. Punk rocker. All right.
And Punk. Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah, I look forward to hearing your... Because he's probably in all this new school stuff and thinks it's old school. Like, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I referred to 7 Seconds as, like, second-generation hardcore. Yeah. And, like, that threw people. And one of the New York punk, the New York hard, sick of it all, I was like, oh, they're way new school. And the people were like, no, that's not new school. And I'm like, well, you're 9 or 19.
Fucking crazy.
Indeed.
Yeah, they're the youth of today, man. These guys are new jacks in my mind. But anyway.
Exactly. But that's neither here nor there. So, adios, MMA aficionados. This is Kid Nate. Thanks, Eugene.
All right, man. See you.